Modern Warfare has the most frequent update rates that we've seen for a Call of Duty game in recent years, and actually ever really, with a frequency of an update or so every 2 weeks. The only discrepancies that we saw between that was a few weeks ago when we had that changeover happen from DLC content for Season 1 dropping on a Tuesday, as opposed to the up until that point Friday content drops that we had seen. So, save for a 10 to 11 day changeover, everything has happened within the intervals of 2 weeks' time, with this upcoming week looking to potentially carry that pattern on. But today, when looking to plan ahead and draft some notes for what we may be able to see, it dawned on me, what really is left that we know of for Season 1? With, as of recording this video, 37 days and a few hours and change, what really can we expect for that large amount of time? Today, we're going to dive deep into some speculation, which, keep in mind, it's just that. We're theorizing and discussing some possible content and timetables of what's to come if we can pinpoint certain aspects. Anyways, as we go along though, let me know your thoughts down below on what you think will be coming, if you agree, disagree, or if you'd add or subtract anything from what we discuss. As well, maybe considering the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, if you're a part of that nearly 70% of users who are not, to stay up to date daily with all things Modern Warfare. The content will still be here all the same, but if you want to stay connected, feel free to. Anyways, let's jump into it. I'll be honest, the idea for this was kind of random perhaps, but what prompted this question of what's really left of Modern Warfare, while doing some planning for future content, I just wanted to also familiarize myself with possible launch dates. It hit me that the major preview that we got with Season 1, the launch of Modern Warfare Season 1, we've already been through the vast majority of the items on that. All 3 MP maps listed, they're released: Vacant, Shipment, and Crash. The Ground War map listed of Port of Verdansk, that's already been released. The 2 gunfight maps of Cargo and Atrium, those have been released. The 3 game modes of Reinforced, Gunfight, OSP, and Infected, those have been released, and actually since has been changed out, with Infected still staying in the quick play selection menu, but you get the picture with that one. We've already moved on from all of those. The 4 new Spec Op experiences, to my knowledge, I think Bomb Squad is yet to be released. I could be wrong on that one. Honestly, don't play any Spec Ops at all, so that one could just be easily escaping me. The 2 new weapons though also, both of those released. So each bit of what we've seen released and debuted to the public has been in less than half the season's time, with the only remaining stuff being some of potentially the and more that's listed in the gunfight maps and also the Spec Op experiences. So we're either up for perhaps one of the largest dry spells that we've ever seen in Call of Duty content, or there's another layer here to this, that perhaps we'll get a second roadmap for the second half of the season. While I don't know if we'll get another roadmap, I certainly don't think it's the first option. I don't think that we'll be keeping up a 2-week update schedule up until this point, and then see after this a gap of 5 weeks or so until the next season's launch where we have 0 content updates. Especially when on a technical level, we'll need updates to fix issues that still persist in the game. But as for what for, that's entirely hypothetical and where we need to really begin with our pure speculation. I want to start with one that I think I'm the most curious to see how it plays out. Perhaps the introduction of another operator. There's been a couple of things that have just been absolutely wrecking my brain, and we'll circle back to that here in just a second, but in this case, we may be seeing Ghost return, and maybe even as early as of, well, maybe this upcoming week. Why? Well, we ended up getting Mara, we got Nikto, and normally I'd say that yes, that's kind of all we're gonna have. If those are the 2 things on the marketing promo, that's really all that we'll end up seeing. Mara was solo in the Battle Pass. Players thought Nikto would come right away as well, even though he would be in the shop, but still on day 1, turns out that wasn't the case. Mara was available on day 1 of Season 1. Nikto came 2 weeks into the season with the first seasonal refresh. We saw the operators in Season 1 distributed on the content cycle so far of a release pattern of 2 weeks. Now granted, there's around 5 weeks left of the season, so it wouldn't necessarily come out with a perfect scenario of the update timing, but it's curious that we have a current situation that potentially sets up for another operator coming in a 2-week interval. Truthfully, the only reason that I'm kind of biting on this theory is that there's one thing in particular that holds some weight to me that we've seen in-game and in official marketing in the last week. The Ghost of Verdansk, as the key art dubs him from the game files, potentially being that Ghost reimagination from the classics, and also the next operator. He has his own operator selection image in the game files, his own key art in the game files. That stuff was data mined and readily available if you knew what to look for since before Season 1 began, and also a few weeks after launch, so in that little window there. But now the same operator's likeliness is being used in official changes. The other day we mentioned that there was an overlay on the static screens across various numerous maps in-game that showcased Ghost on a frequent loop, and shortly after that, there was another teaser for the likes of Nikto on the official Call of Duty Twitter, which showcased some details about Nikto, but then ultimately the reflection of Ghost in a shard of glass, almost as if he was hunting Nikto, which narratively could set up some awesome backstory stuff. But two separate and independent times, Ghost was referenced on official levels. That doesn't happen by chance. And what makes me even more curious about this is the fact that if we consider a secondary refresh, perhaps even again this upcoming week, those teasers fall in line with things that we've seen teased beforehand in Call of Duty history, hiding in plain sight to generate some hype. But the curious part is that timing again. I don't think that he would personally be a Season 2 operator, because why tease him with nearly 40 days left within the season? That stuff normally doesn't happen until about a week or two before, so as to not build the hype and then kill it with the upcoming wait. It's also interesting to consider that we've talked about Reddit user Senasalo plenty of times here on the channel. Prominent data miner so far within Modern Warfare, and has brought up a ton of stuff for what we can expect and what's already come true. A month and a half ago now at this point, he put up a thread talking about 13 upcoming operators in Modern Warfare, one of which was Mara, who's come true, one of which was the Ghost of Verdansk, which we may end up seeing in Season 1, or maybe not, but still 13 as of an early build of Modern Warfare. That means that there's still plenty of time for more things to be added to the game files, but we already had 13 operators, excluding people like Nikto, already in the game files, meaning that maybe we see even more coming. So maybe this means that there's on pace for 3, maybe 4 operators per season, which plays even more so into that theory that maybe Ghost comes this season. Now, honestly, I could talk about Ghost for quite a bit of time, but to spare you the conspiracy theories that I have and everything like that, let's move on to some other topics of discussion as well. Let's talk about maps. What could potentially come here? Because I truthfully don't think we're done getting regular maps, ground war maps, 2v2 maps, and all things like that. So what could we potentially see? Well, the one that stuck out to me recently like a sore thumb was that of potentially Overgrown. Reddit user iMarty529 ended up finding on the newest Spec Ops map, Grandma's House from Overgrown, which, if you take a look at it and cross-reference what we've already seen data mined in terms of, again, Reddit user Senasalo's 38 upcoming multiplayer maps thread from earlier in the year, well, it's actually on that list and is very possible to be coming. So with it already being built out in terms of this, it's not the craziest thing to consider when you take a look at Vacant being in the port of Verdansk, Crash being remade, you take a look at Shipment having some pieces in the port of Verdansk. I'm not saying that it's a direct copy and paste, because it certainly is not, but you have those remnants already in play, so maybe that's something that comes as well. Other things we could potentially see in Season 1, I think, is what is listed as a night variation of Shipment. To my knowledge, this isn't actually in the NVG. Playlists are private matches. We could end up seeing the map of Farida, which was in the marketing pre-launch even, potentially finally coming. We could end up seeing TV Station, because that's actually broadcast from COD 4 that's showcased at the very tail end of the intro cinematic for Season 1. When we zoom out and we see Al-Assad with his followers roughing some people up in the background, that's where that is. There's still plenty that could be coming here. And when we consider that maybe we have another ground war map coming at some point, that could possibly be happening. And there's also listed and more for gunfights. So I definitely think that this isn't the end for at least maps even. And when we take a look at game modes even, that's something that also already has a lot of things in play that potentially could be working. While we've exhausted everything on that marketing material for the Season 1 roadmap or preview, we also see that up until this point, we haven't seen Capture the Flag or Grind in the game just yet in terms of public standings. Those both were already in the game files and even are either on the leaderboard or also in private matches for you to play around with. So that's something that is very possible, very likely to just be coming up at some point during any of these playlist refreshes, either that being this upcoming Tuesday, the week following, or the 2 weeks following that even, to round out the Season 1. And not to mention that, again, there's still plenty of stuff. Reddit user Senasalo once again ended up data mining over a month ago 23 modes coming to Modern Warfare, some of which we've seen implemented so far, but some of which we haven't seen up until this point. So I certainly don't think that that's the end either. Spec Ops, we already know that there is and more on top of that as well. So this all still looks to have plenty, even though we don't have too much listed from the original marketing material. One thing that I want to say that is absolutely crucial as well to this entire theory, this entire speculation, is that this last update was marketed as a continuation to continue on with Season 1 and to allow it to roll out and live on throughout the timing of what we have left. That's gone through many teams. It's not something that just showcases it's a one and done thing, but instead hints at it being a live service, and that's something that we've come to expect now with Modern Warfare. So again, that gap that we have theoretically on the horizon, I don't see that happening. We've seen relatively stable updates in terms of maybe a map or two introduced with a ground war map or a 6v6 map and some spec ops stuff, some new stuff in the shop, a new operator with 2 new maps and things like that. So who's to say that doesn't continue on and that pattern keeps going? But anyways, just wanted to throw that out there here with this one. In terms of weapons, I have no idea if we'll get that. We did see that we have the crossbow still coming at some point. That's apparently gotten some progress made on it in recent builds game files. But weapons aside, we know that we still have some maps, modes, potentially a new operator, and more coming within the next coming weeks. So Season 1, while we still have quite a bit of question marks in terms of the certainty of things, it's likely that we're going to still see quite a bit. So wanted to share that with you guys and keep you up to date with all things you may have had in terms of curiosity for Season 1 and what's left as we approach the halfway point. But let me know your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. What do you guys think? Do you think we're going to get all of what we listed, maybe a little bit more? Do you think we'll get some of what we listed? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare. And of course, if you want to get connected with me outside of YouTube a little bit further, Twitter and Instagram are the best places to do so. Practically live on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. But that said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.